Good morning to all the dignitaries and participants. I, CA Bhavi Thakkar, on behalf of the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee, ICAI, welcome you all the participants in today's webcast on professional skepticism, turning analytical skills into auditor's sixth sense. I welcome on today's session our resource person, CA Sundareshan Rajeshwar sir, and all other present here. It is a great honor to have Sir here. He has been 30 years plus experience in global leadership, experience in governance, internal audit, and risk management, spanning many industrial verticals across India, Bahrain, UAE, and Qatar. A chartered accountant with multiple global certifications, including CIA, CISA, CFE, CFSA, CRMA, CGAP, and CCSA. He has successfully advised boards and C-suites on strategic governance, organizational resilience, M&A due diligence, cybersecurity, and corporate compliance. Globally recognized for thoughtful leadership, Mr. Rajeshwar was honored with the Internal Audit Beacon Award 2022 and the CA Achievers Award 2017. Toastmasters Presidential Citation 2024, alongside contributing to global research and education. Today, this session, we are very enriched with such a wonderful speaker who is so much of bringing us the knowledge bucket and bringing us very important highlight on the topic professional skepticism, turning analytical skills into auditor's sixth sense. This topic itself is a very important topic to understand the importance of how the auditing requires an auditor to maintain a questioning mind, remain alert to the conditions that may indicate misstatement due to error or fraud, and critically assess audit evidence. It goes beyond technical knowledge and checklist. It is the auditor's sixth sense that develops through experience, judgment, and ethical awareness. On such a topic, we have such an important delegate who could speak us on important spectrism paths, accepting information as a face value. So, without wasting much of the time, I hand over the session to Sir, who can bring us more insight on this topic. Over to you, Sir.
Thank you, Bhavi, for that nice introduction. I know when it's and at the outset, let me wish you all a very happy new year. This is my first assignment in 2026, and I'm proud to do that for my Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, my alumni, and that's a great occasion. And I wish you all, may this new year bring clarity, precision, and wisdom in every decision you make. Wishing a prosperous and fulfilling year ahead. I just read our President Nandaji's message for the new year. He says, India's rise to continuum reforms. India's rise is continuum reforms, resilience, and responsible ambition. Very foresightful thought. And he also said that next Gen CA firms should be agile, tech savvy, innovative, risk-taking, and continuous upskilling. So that we are prepared to serve future-ready India with global credibility. It's very thoughtful message, and I'm proud that sort of message is coming from our President of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. I'm also thankful to Jay Cherya, the chairman of the committee, Abhay Sajja, the vice chairman, and Professional Skills Enrichment Committee members and secretary, and all those who helped me, assisted me in, and also invited me to do this talk on a very important topic, professional skepticism. Now, for a change, I think for all of you, it is not about standing. It is not about controls. It is not about processes. It is not about technology and other skills. it matters most to chartered accountants and auditors in particular. How we think, because it deals with how we think, our mindset, how to gather our evidence and confirm it, the judgment that we make on it, and it is an invisible shield to auditors in general. And my endeavor, the purpose of this talk, it's going to be about 2 hours, the time which is given to me, it would be to ensure or that in 2026, our skepticism will be sharper than ever before because trust in our profession depends on it. I'll repeat, my endeavor would be an awareness, build awareness that in 2026, our professional skepticism as auditors, as chartered accountants, will be sharper than ever because trust in our profession as auditor depends on it, that is trust. So let me now take you through my presentation that will, let me share the screen. All right. Okay. To start with, let me say that, reason I had my partner yesterday at my home visiting me, and I said I'm busy with my this preparation of for this talk. So he mentioned something, as chartered accountants or as an auditor or accountants, we were asked to learn about we were asked to acquire critical thinking, communication skills, analytical thinking or abilities, organization, have empathy, have perseverance to follow up on things, take initiatives, have business acumen to understand different businesses we deal with, and have attention to detail, learn, understand mathematics, understand expertise in accounting, and so on. He said there are 12 of them in the list, which is which is given by Caseware, which is a platform where I understand about 500,000 accountants use it. And he asked, so the professional skepticism, is it another skill we need to acquire? And what is the difference between the other skills? I had to give him an answer. I told him Caseware focus on all these 12 competencies was technical competency. It related like data analytics, automation. These are basically the technical competency and what we are talking about skepticism is a behavioral competency, a mindset rather than tool-based skills. It's not a tool-based skills, it's a mindset, not in the catalog of skills. That is why it is not in the catalog of skills, which can be easily transferable. So the bottom line, when I say that, I want to say that professional skepticism is absolutely important. In fact, arguably the most valuable skill in an auditor's bags or that auditors bring to the table. Even the best soft skills can be manipulated. So next time, if some of you want to have a job change or young chartered accountants who will soon look for a job or look for job change, one of the things you have to emphasize is you know more about professional skills, you develop it. And what is that? So I will take you through the things what you can learn. Okay, in this session. So, okay, professional skepticism, the mindset, and attitude. These are the 5 areas where a skepticism continuum, how there is a behavioral range, where you can measure where are you between doubt and complete trust. Complete doubt and complete trust. What are you? Where are you in that in that range? Where do you stand in particular situation? Then enhance skepticism. What are the threats and what are solutions? I'll also talk about the threats and solution for an individual professional or a team which works on a project or for a firm, audit firm or accounting firm, as you call it. How you can together create, what are the threats and what are the solution to this threat, and what are the best practices to enhance skepticism. This can be a great takeaway, and I believe that if you follow what I say, and if you had some doubt during the course of my talk, please text or please uh, put it in your message to me as a question, and I'll try to address it towards the end. And then the sixth sense. Sixth sense, how do you develop sixth sense? It's an analytical tool. Take on. And I want to tell when that and ethical boundaries. How do you work within the ethical boundaries of the ethical boundaries of professional skepticism? Everything what you deal with today, you have to be conscious about ethical aspects. I want to tell when this topic was discussed for presentation, I felt it was a tough topics, and I was given very tight content, like what it should contain, and that gave me a lot of need for me to present something which you can take home and start from day two or day one, today itself. At the end of the day, you can start practicing. Because no, skepticism protects starter. I mentioned earlier, auditors. Judgment guides them. There's a difference between skepticism and judgment. And ethic angers them. Angers meaning, that it sort of relied on. You can angers on you can rely on that. So trust is an invisible capital. I mentioned there's either trust or ups, down. So trust is an invisible capital for our profession. And it is earned by courage to question, discipline to verify, and wisdom to stand firm when easy path can beckon us. Okay, we'll do it, it's good enough. And when we easily beckoned by such thing, but we take our stand to stand firm, and discipline to verify things, courage to question, which is probably uncomfortable to someone who listens it, and but that is what is expected us to earn the trust. Most of us knows an obvious question: what are the evidence? What you call it a sufficient evidence? How does something like how does this reconcile, or what it can be what can be done? So I will just this agenda of C5 items can be put into why skepticism matters. That will be why skepticism. That in terms of the context and relevance, why it matters. Second is what is professional skepticism. When you to know why it matters, you should know what is professional skepticism all about. Third thing is how skepticism is earned in audit or exercised in audit, not earned, exercised in audit. It is something which we all should learn so that we can practice it in our day-to-day work. And calibrating skepticism, like I mentioned about continuum. Continuum is a scale. You can calibrate where are you in that, and what are the bias. Bias is very critical aspect of even exercising skepticism. So you should know what are the bias that can go on. In fact, sometimes it is called unknown bias. We will not even ourselves know that there's a bias happening in our mind. So we should know. And strengthening professional skepticism. This is another thing which area will say, like I mentioned about individuals or team or firm, how we can strengthen. Then auditor's sixth sense, that is tool and analytics. So sixth sense is a very interesting aspect. You would have heard about five senses, like taste, smell, like that. I will come back to it in detail when we reach there. And what does the sixth sense mean? How do you acquire that sixth sense? How do you flourish it with the tools of that is available today, technology tools that is. Then the final thing is ethical boundary. So this is how the whole thing is going to happen. So let us get into the topic itself. I'm sure you are ready. Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to be interactive because I work on a different platform, and it's the presentation reach you in another platform because the large number of audience you cannot be accommodated in one platform for its own technical reasons and more better reach. Okay, this is going to be the first thing. What is professional skepticism? There are six things I will talk about, six characteristics, why skepticism matters, understanding the steps of mindset and attitude. These are the two things. Exercising skepticism. Who should use skepticism? All these will be covered in different slides. But in the end of each slide, or most of the slides, I'm also giving a message which will be coming probably in a red letters, which can be something a food for thought for you people. So that, and also it sums up with sort of a guidance. It is also from people who matters a lot. So the word skeptics, to start with, the word skeptic, let's go to the next. What is professional skepticism? The word skeptics comes from a Greek word, and I know many of our English language words comes from Greek for some reason. Skeptikos, meaning inquiring or reflective. Inquiries seek information by questioning. Inquiry means seek information by questioning. And questioning, so what are the content? Questioning, careful observation, probing reflection, looking beyond the obvious, and suspension of how you act. Okay, so we'll go to that. Professional skepticism is an attitude that includes questioning mindset and critical assessment of evidence. This is from the um, public public company accounting oversight board of USA. It's their definition. And auditors should challenge on the questioning mindset and attitude. Don't assume or presume that, oh, I have enough questioning mindset. I ask some tough questions and I have an attitude of questioning. I am fearless. But don't get into that. Don't assume that. You go through, where I say take you through, you will understand how you can test your questioning mind, how you can test your skepticism. Questioning mindset is difference between seeing what it is and what could be wrong. Okay, seeing what is and what could be wrong. That's a questioning mindset, is to find out. And the attitude determines courage. So do you have the courage to ask? Auditors should challenge the questioning mindset. Then as a profession, it is imperative that we actively encourage skepticism. Skepticism should be top of mind and must be cultivated. This is again from the chairman of PCAOB, Public Company Accounting Board of USA, and he said that skepticism should be top of mind and must be cultivated. So it doesn't say that, it says must be. It didn't say could be or maybe. It's a must be, must in a legal parlance means a lot, particularly in accounting standards. So this is an important quote from Bertrand Russell. He says, what is wanted is not the will to believe, but the will to find out, which is exactly opposite. It's not will to believe, but will to find out, which is right opposite. And it will to believe and what you find out can be completely different. So judgment, okay, let's go to the world does not need us to believe. It needs us to find out. That's what it means. The world does not need us to believe and audit or create a given opinion. It wants us to find out and give a credibility to whatever we state. So let's go to the next one. Skepticism 6 characteristics. These probably the things that we should have to ensure that we understand skepticism and we imbibe it as an important activity, that important thing we should, or important skill set or important area that we should focus on, so that it will work in our favor as professionals. Questioning mindset, I mentioned, looking for evidence to justify. Okay, it means there are three things here. Challenge the assumption. Go to the assumptions. If there is any statement given or any accounting statement or financial statements or given or any other report is given, look at what are the assumptions behind it. Then evaluate the contra evidence. Look at the evidence. If you find anything which is contradicting this statement, you should evaluate it with more questioning mind, more probing approach. And third is remain open to new information, because new information could also uh, add to the decision that we take. Suspension of judgment. This is the second aspect. Suspension of judgment is propensity to accept or reject until all information is available. That means you can say, okay, I'm not happy with it, a particular statement, a um, particular fact presented, until I get what I need to confirm that it is correct. So here again, reliability of sources, from where it has come. What are the sources? Is it sources which is given as an evidence credible? Second is there any unusual transactions or unusual uh, uh, activities connected with it, which could have influenced it? Like you can give an example, find out why did a person want to give an sorry, say, bank projection for bank? We should go behind it. Is it for fundraising or is it for new business activities? The new business that you had a due diligence. So it's something. So unless you're happy with that, you should not sign it. And alternate, is there any alternate explanation? So these are that contribute to suspension of judgment. So third thing, where skeptic six characters search for knowledge, a genuine curiosity and enjoyment of learning. Because this is one of the most liked aspect of the skepticism. When you look for knowledge, it gets into us as a permanent, permanent wealth, because then we can apply that knowledge in many other situations. So that search for knowledge comes from genuine curiosity to go deeper into it. If I'm given, suppose, in fact, I've been asked whether I could uh, do a business modeling for a new drone company. Okay, I had to learn what are the business purpose, what is the business vertical, where this money comes from, where the product goes, what are the conditions, what are the regulatory things. So I learned a lot of things about the drone business and the profitability, and beyond that the country's priority. So all that is, something in knowledge which I can apply in any other, company which comes for such consulting with me. So interpersonal understanding, a different perception of information. It's many people think that, okay, I know better than others, so why should I ask? I mean, today's world, you don't know as much as you think you know. You don't know as much as you think you know, because it's knowledge is in fingertips. Think fingertips with AI facilitating with Chat GPT, or even I like the one which our CA GPT. Amazing. If I have any doubts on income tax or GST or any other account or profession related aspect or company law, it's I can check on that and understand at least broadly, and then go deeper into the law and find out what it could be, what it is in a greater detail. So so when we say something, I mean, when interpersonal understanding helps in building with somebody else, talking to them, and they have a lot of practical experience which will be much more than what you can learn from the books. Then self-determination. Self-determination, okay, next is, sorry, self-confidence. Self-confidence is valuing one's insight and challenge assumption of others. What self-confidence? We should be confident of what we are saying. That means we should have that expertise. We should have that expertise come from the speed in knowledge and experience. When knowledge can be applied in a practical situation, we become expert, and we have an expertise on that. So it is both knowledge and ability to apply that knowledge in practical situation through our experience, hands-on experience. So these are, then the last one is self-determined, initiative to take action on evidences. It's very important. We found suppose an evidence is not good enough. We found we discussed with some people, we are not happy about it. We should be able to say that what we see. It's again one of my favorite things, favorite statement is if you see something, say something. You make sure that what you have the confidence to say, you have courage to take the decision. So you have to say that. So these 6 characters describe how professional skepticism shows in our behavior. Note that technical knowledge is not enough. Confidence, curiosity, and care. Confidence, curiosity, and care matter just as much. This is a statement from Kathy Hurt and Martha. They have written, they are the ones who coined the 6 characteristics of skepticism. Kathy Hurt, Martha, and David Lies. Okay. So I think now let's go to the next part. I mean, the picture here you see is about, and I don't know how many of our chartered accountants watch movies, particularly Star Trek like movie. But I found, a very important link in Star Trek. In fact, one of the things in the Star Trek is that it ends abruptly. The movies, the saga, it runs, one comes after another after 3 years or 4 years. But the one that never ends. It always leaves us some doubts, something which is missing. We can think about it. So they create that curiosity in us to continue. So why I have this Star Trek? It is this picture, this poster is from a movie called Star Trek's movie called Enemy Within. Here, basically it is about the person who loses memory and that person goes on a mission, and the vehicle gets stuck. The vehicle gets stuck, and he splits into 2 personalities. Okay, and I'll tell you, it says uh, it looks at the contemporary look at the predictability of human behavior. Okay, the predictability of human behavior is what this movie in some says. It's where a transportation malfunction splits Captain Kirk into 2 versions, one gentle but indecisive, and another one aggressive and cruel. And when they get trapped, how to deal? Spock and McCoy realize both halves essential to Kirk's identity to restore balance. So everyone has this sort of personality. So how do you balance? That's very good. That's where I found the movie. Skepticism of mindset, and it's everyone's job. It is not just auditor's job. Whether you're a teacher, whether you are doing something else as a business person, entrepreneur, it's everybody's job. Increasing complexity in audit. There is an increasing complexities in audit. There are many failures of business. There are many reporting, I would say, uh, inadequacies to the stakeholders. And the first question comes is, where are the auditor? Why they are not brought this up? It comes up. Even I work for a company in the Middle East for 25 years. And my chairman says if anything happens, the first person, any major fraud or something happen, the first person to ask is you. He used to tell me as an auditor. I'm keeping you to say why it happened, why it could not be prevented, and what is the consequence. So auditors become complicated. There's nothing like a simple audit job. It can be complex depending on the type of business, the number of transactions. Even in India, recently, when I was auditing one of the enterprises, I found thousands of transactions, 3,000 odd transactions within 5 banks. It's very complex to understand that. And of course, we have now tools to get something analytics from it. But there is a lot of thinking that we have to do behind. So complexity in audit it's a reality. Then judgment versus procedural failures. Judgment failure also happens, and the complexity how decisions are formed. So and judgment versus public trust and audit quality. Recently there is just what we call it GIA, Global Internal Auditing Standard. It's completely talks about public trust. The standard itself calls about public trust in many parts, and as a purpose and definition in various standard statements in the standard. It calls about public. I mean, ability to meet with the public expectations. And of course, I mentioned audit is lack of lack of skepticism, not lack of standard. I don't think there are lack of standard. It's lack of skepticism on our part to apply the standards, understand the situation, business, and probably did not take the effort to know. So skepticism, again, as I mentioned, skepticism is confidence and self-assurance to challenge explanation and courage to dig deeper and following up. Because it's a confidence and self-assurance to to challenge explanation and courage to dig deeper and following up. Okay, this is in a nutshell. Now let's go to the next, professional skepticism, why it matters. Okay, we knew now broadly about what skepticism means. Now let's go to why it matters. Why are we spending this much time to know about it? So this is it will, as you go through, you will learn more and more, and you'll know how to get it. Then is it how to enhance it, how to apply it, and what to do with it. Okay. So now let's move on that direction. And matter skepticism is essential for to audit qualities because it's a foundation for decision making. It also helps in fraud risk landscape. Today, particularly including with technology or otherwise, fraud is a fact of life. Trillions of dollars are lost year after year on fraud. So skepticism gives a heads up where there is some anomaly or some variations or something which not connecting well to the reported and also the actual, and when you compare with the third party evidences. So we have to be skepticism is essential to audit quality. Then second is auditing standards require, but it's matter of judgment how to apply. Many of the auditing, I mentioned about IAA standard or Global Internal Auditing Standard, but and also we mentioned about PSOB and public PCOB, then also many other even in many of the other standards also have that. So audit failures, that means it's not standard. It's because it is not lack of standard. There is a complexity. Skepticism continuum. This is also another thing I mentioned about it earlier when they started. Is skepticism matters because we should know where are we in terms of doubt, and because there will be hardly be any where there is complete trust. We can't start with complete trust. Again, these are bias which we'll talk about later. Complete trust is meaning you start with complete means you are not applied skepticism at all. It's in the case of complete doubt, probably you are unearthed a fraud, a major discrepancy, or major misconduct, or reporting errors or misstatements. So this is the two extremes. So how we should know where are we, and sometimes we have to take a best judgment decision based on that. Then continuous learning and adaptability. It's also, as I mentioned earlier, encourages continuous learning and adaptability to understand the businesses and understand the people, understand the processes, so that we provide them with the right solution by actively challenging, and we can actively challenge situations and to get the right information, right evidences, and that will hone our skills. That means that will make us better people. So that includes, if I tell you, these are situation adapting, problem solving, and right tools. These are the solution when you get to also matter. matter in this case. The state of mind, this is from the IEA, Institute of Internal Auditors, USA, the state of mind in which auditors take nothing for granted. They question and see and critically assess audit evidence. The state of mind in which auditors take nothing for granted. They question and see and critically assess audit evidence. This is how it is explained. Now let's understanding professional. We mentioned so many things. So I'm just putting it in one slide. Questioning mindset. I said questioning mindset, what it means. Critical assessment of evidence, again, depending on the situation, depending on the report, or depending on the requirement. We need to ensure that the evidence is assessed properly. Third is recognition of fraud indicators. Again, that's a skepticism. If we find something is not tying up, something needs more more details or more understanding or explanation from some third party, which can be corroborated with this. So in practice, these fraud indicators, it's a amazing skill. If you're a forensic practitioner, skepticism cannot be separated from your forensic. It is important skill for in a forensic. I worked with some of my audit staff when I was a head of audit, chief audit executive. I found they have such an acumen to identify fraud indicators from totally unknown areas. Of course, I can't explain these because for want of time, I'll get into the theory. We can have some questions on it. I'll be able to answer a little later. And fourth is understanding the entity and its environment. It's very critical again, understanding entity, because you can't apply one rule for everything. You have to look at that, look at the entity, look at the environment, look at the business, business risk, or say inherent risk in a business. That meaning without taking the risk, the business cannot run. Some of the inherent risk can be an enterprise risk. So we have to make sure that the environment is understood before you use skepticism, before you decide on what sort of questions you should ask, what sort of assessment you should make, what sort of evidence you should seek, what sort of triggers you want to, or analytics you want to get, or what sort of triggers you want on that. Alertness to contradictory information. It's a very important point. Contradictory information means somebody came and one of the, say, your CFO or your the management gave an explanation about something, and when you're looking at the data or looking at the evidences or looking at the business documents, you find it's not in line with what explanation was given or information was given by the management. So you should immediately process in your mind to keep it for more reviews or more reviews, so that you don't go with the contradictory information and form an opinion without doing the relevant or required effort to understand it. So this is an alertness to contradictory information. It may sound simple, but it's not easy in practice, because even questioning management should be done with a lot of sophistication, so that we don't hurt. And finally, I also came to know more here when I started in the practice. I found that most of the clients also, they demand respect. And of course, that we also need clients for our to giving our skills or our uh, time to them, so that we also succeed in what we are doing. So it has to be done with a lot of delicacy and sophistication. So the last one is independence and objectivity. This is important. You can't be sophisticated. You can't say that you have skepticism if you don't have. You follow, professional skepticism if you don't have independence, you don't have objectivity. It applies to many other things. As an auditor, whether it's internal auditor or ESG auditor or statutory auditor, you need. So this is an important statement. Professional skepticism is often misunderstood as a distrust. In reality, it is disciplined curiosity. When you ask questions, we ask, asking for more evidence, we are trying to do some reconciliation or collaboration or meeting, brainstorming. People think, okay, he is being, there is lack of trust. There's a distrust from the auditor. But in reality, it's disciplined curiosity. This is what, many of you, if you're working in that space, or some of you who are on the other side of the table, should understand that it's not a distrust. It is a disciplined curiosity. We are expected to do that as a professional. So now let's see how to cultivate mindset and attitude for skepticism. What is auditor's mindset? Auditor, I'm using it as a general term for accountants also. Because you can be in an audit firm, you can be in an accounting firm. It more or less means same thing. Whether you the other side, because even today's standards expect not auditors to look at any anomalies or any evident lack of evidence. It is also the role of a CFO, the role of accountants to ensure that the accounting records or also the financial statements have the required integrity. So you should learn to, when I say this, so why I'm saying it is used in general terms, but it also applies to all of you who are whether an auditor or accountant or whatever, whether you are a risk manager, whether you're a compliance head. So it can be anyone. I'm putting into a general term. So things process information about it. So mindset should be you should think about it, process the information about what it is, and what evidence would mean the right evidence. What is auditor's attitude? How to evaluate management's assertions, that questioning mind, critical assessment. This is how to assertion. Assertions is what they want. They stated. So you have to have that questioning mind. Attitude should have a questioning mind and critical assessment of evidence. The third, what is the role of auditor? The objective requirement differ in audit. Okay, the role of audit. It can be forensic audit. The role of auditor could be find out or unearth the, if at all, if there is a misconduct or if there is a loss of wealth that has happened to the company, and somebody has done it deliberately. There is a for a fraud. There is a definition, but that like why how it can be called fraud in a legal parlance. If somebody would have lost money, it would have been done, really lost money or wealth, or it would have been done with purposeful intent, and the person who had done it had benefited out of it. So the three conditions are needed to call something as a fraud. Because somebody making a loss in a business can be a business loss. It is not gain for someone else. So so objective requirement differ in audit to apply practically. So your role of an auditor to have the mindset and attitude depends on whether it is financial, forensic, or any other, what is the assignment that it is. So the exercise of professional skepticism throughout the judgment process is the heart of effective auditor decision making. So again, it's a CAQ is a Center for Audit Quality. Okay, CAQ is a very big organization, very large organization. They work very closely with also the foundation, which looks around the forensics. So they, the statement that throughout the judgment process, using skepticism and creating taking the right decision matters a lot. So let's keep exercising skepticism, which is the next part of, and you understood what is skepticism, why it matters. Now, how to exercise skepticism? Anyone can commit fraud. Acknowledge and heighten the awareness. Anyone can commit fraud, which is a fact of life. So don't say that, oh, I know him, or he has a history, he worked for 30 years in one company, or he has background as a wealthy person, or as a pious person, God-fearing. I mean, you don't have to start with any of that. We have to do any presumptions is not needed. Over reliance on perspective, which is, I said, same as last year. Oh, everything is same as last year. So last year somebody has gone through it. So let's not do too much. Let's go ahead and finish finish our work. Remain vigilant. Remain vigilant. That means explanation and avoid a checklist-driven approach. This is I've seen in plenty of cases. People go with a checklist, they make the questions, and ask those questions from the checklist. Tick, tick, tick things. Okay, I verified this. I've seen the reconciliation. I I had a discussion with some, the stakeholders or the owners, process owners, and I'm happy about it. But remain vigilant. Look at it. Even the explanation. Keep in mind, is it need any more affirmation? And don't just think that if you ticked all boxes in a checklist, that's the end of it. No, that there you have not done any thinking. Be curious consistently. If you find something, ask for more. Of course, you have to be within your time in practice, but then you have to find time, because depending on where, if you judge, it's one of the biggest issue that we find in professional skepticism. People say is that, no, I don't have time. I'm paid for only this much, so this much time only I can. No, you cannot connect time to quality, time to our professional integrity, time to our time to the expectations from the regulatory bodies. So we have to be more aware of all this and continue to work, continue to go in that way. Then third, I mean, another one is show me strategy. Ask questions and get audit trail based documentation. No, just show me. Okay, show me. They bring it to your table. Okay, and they give some explanation. Okay, you're seeing it. You clear it. That's not the right exercising the skepticism. That's not exercising. So why I'm saying all this is you should not get into the trap. So it affects your exercise in skepticism. We'll go to the next one. Oh, okay. This is what, sorry. Don't want to miss. Most audit failures don't happen because auditors don't know the standard, but they stop questioning. Okay. So let's go to the next. Brainstorm. How do you go about it? Brainstorming sessions to identify fraud risk and develop responses, particularly in fraud risk. The more people you meet and discuss, you get different perspective from the people. It's a very effective thing. Potential management bias when assessing evidence. And when evaluating judgment, be alert to pressures of management. Management bias, look at it. Pressures of management saying that, no, let's close it. I don't, the company, it will be a reputational risk for the company. But it may be. But you have to, when you give a report, you have to give the report right. Assumptions, methods, and estimate disclosed. Again, these are all while exercising skepticism, something which you should all be careful about. Engage face-to-face interaction. Again, in the world today, with a lot of uh, work from home situation and virtual interaction. And in fact, one of my friend who joined a company in a multinational company, he said, no, he works 2 months in person in the company office, and 2 months he's back home and working from home. So I don't know how it would work, because face to face, a lot of things can come out. Look up, escalate findings in key areas. This again, when you find something amiss, escalate it to the next level. So it's throughout the audit process. Again, audit planning and risk assessment is the first audit process. Okay, so understanding business environment and identifying significant risks. These are the two things. Understanding business, I talked about it. You should know the business because you should know what are the inherent risks, what are the type of processes, and identify significant. Second, and fraud assessing. These three things comes under the audit planning and risk assessment stages. Second is evidence collection. This is exclusively for in an audit process. For all of you who are auditors or account, or you do the audit work, as you including as CFO or accountant, So evidence collection, substantive testing procedure to ensure sufficient evidence, that is substantive. Analytical procedures you can do to identify unusual trends and circumstances. Analytical procedure because it can deal with big data, lots of data, and that will help us to get more insights from the data. So one should look at analytical procedure, then reviewing documentation, whatever document comes, look at it from the whether it is correct, whether it looks original, whether it is probably good enough for that whatever is being stated in the financial statements or in as a provisions or as an assumption or as a income revenue. Should you should look at the revenue document, forming an audit opinion. That's the third person. Sufficiency of evidence, where you take addressing unresolved issues. So this is how exercising skepticism, but in a pure throughout the audit process. You have an audit planning, you have an evidence collection and evaluation, you have forming an audit opinion during audit opinion. Now, who should overall presentation? No, and finally, so who should exercise skepticism? That's an important question, correct? Boards and audit committee, they should exercise skepticism at their level. They are responsible. I even had a presentation for one of the organization. I said that no, okay, they invariably say that they are oversight responsibility. I said no, you have to go beyond oversight responsibility. It's mere supervisory. Whether you want to take much more because today regulatory requirement or regulatory, say, non-compliance could be very high in terms of, personally or professionally or even for the organization. So you have to grow out of oversight to something like, responsibility. Financial management, people like mentioned, internal auditors, external auditors, operations and other business unit. All these are responsible for. So dual approach, this is one very interesting concept I came across I'll give the credit to the people which in the last slide I say that the concept of public skepticism is akin to tightrope walking. Balance trust and caution meticulously. Balance trust and caution meticulously. It's like a tightrope walker, the people who walk in a tightrope with a stick, and if you can, any small misstep you may fall. So it's a tightrope walking. That's a professional skepticism. So the dual approach is not distrusting, but questioning every assertion. How do you do that? That's what it's this chart is saying. Number one is, understanding when to trust, when to be cautious. That is understanding the client's industry, when to trust, when to be cautious. Number two is evaluating management track record, believing in, honesty, the client's honesty, and awareness that the risk and material misstatement could still happen. Evaluating management track record, okay, you understood there is a belief, there is an honesty with the management. It could be a fact of life. But at the same time, say they're aware that the risk and material misstatement could still creep in because everything is dynamic. It won't be same. Then assessing internal controls, that is the third one. The stronger the internal control, the stronger the internal, stronger the trust you can have. I've been in internal controls for more than 3 decades. That's something which opened door for auditors. And I keep telling them, if you build a strong control, you don't need me. Your internal organization could itself be good enough to take what, as an auditor, I could provide. Okay, so this is where I'm saying that assessing internal control becomes, we should do a professional walkthrough, structured walkthrough, identify control weakness, give the permanent solution, which should be based on root cause. Then professional judgment and bias, we should look at what are the bias could happen. And then the fifth one is communication and transparency. Have open communication. Create transparency. Don't say something while hiding something else, or write in a language of where it is very difficult to decipher for the people. Many of it now with ChatGPT or another AI forms like Copilot or something, you can complicate the sentence. Yeah, of course, that's not going to help. Then continuous learning, that dynamic and update, you continuously learn because it's a dynamic situation, the world has changed. So it's all this means that, there is an inquisitive mind. There is an inquisitive mind as critical assessment of evidence is mandatory. And we should, the dual approach is sort of something which is questioning every assertion. Skepticism is safeguard against complacency. Mention complacency. Complacency meaning that, okay, you take it for granted. Okay, my life, I mean, this is not like that. That's a complacent attitude. It is an antidote to tick box mentality, you know. And auditor skepticism is often perceived as cynicism or mistrust. No, auditor skepticism is perceived as cynicism or mistrust. No, we talked about it. Now let's go this summing up what professional skepticism. Before we move to jump to the next slide, next thing, an alert questioning mindset that critically assess evidence and remains mindful of misstatement due to error or fraud. It is not a distrust, it is a disciplined curiosity, it is evidence-driven judgment. So this is, I'm summing up what we talked about. Now, before we go into the next important part, I mentioned, these are skepticism continuum is part of, I mentioned, is calibrating skepticism. It's calibrating skepticism. So we'll talk about the framework, what behavioral range, how does it work? And we talk about definition, application of concept, types of bias, and judgment tendency. So this is I don't know whether it's good enough for you to decipher, but for me, it looks okay. It's a continuous skepticism continuum. It's on the top, and you see the one side is complete trust, another side is complete doubt. Okay, and presumptive doubt is in between. And in fact, most of the time we start with neutral. See, it's an attitude that includes questioning mind. So that's where. So the less evidence is required when there is a case of complete trust or almost like half of a neutral. And the highest evidence is required, extensive audit evidence and documentation is required when it comes to presumptive doubt and complete doubt. Okay, the factor that potentially leading to less evidence is, lower risk and susceptibility, no indication for fraud, no arrest detected, routine and judgment required, and audit evidence consistent with initial risk assessment. So this is routine. The factors where there is higher risk is, in the risk assessment, higher risk, fraud indicators present, errors found out, and complex judgments are because audit evidence is. So let's see what is continuum means. It's a range of behavior from complete trust to complete doubt. We've seen it. Skepticism continuum excludes complete trust and begins from neutral. I mentioned that complete trust contradicts skepticism. We should not start with complete trust. Skepticism is a behavioral range across three categories. We saw that in the earlier diagram: neutrality, presumptive doubt, and complete doubt. Because we are not starting with trust. Trust range from neutral perspectives to varying degrees of doubt. Range from neutral perspective to varying degrees of doubt. Varying degrees of doubt are presumptive doubt and complete doubt. And the extent of audit evidence and documentation needed may increase as auditors' doubt increases, which goes without saying. So let's see what a skepticism continuum. Choose objectively without presuming high carelessness, incompetence. So how do you figure out where are you? Objectively, choose objectively. No incompetence. Don't get into high incompetence, high carelessness, high fraud. Don't choose that. With presumptive doubt, assume some level of carelessness, and incompetence and dishonesty. If you start with presumptive doubt, less evidence, unless evidence indicates otherwise. Start with some level of carelessness. A mindset of complete doubt is rare, unless, unless there is it starts with, unless there is a clear evidence of a fraud or a misstatement or a disclosure, wrong disclosure, or not enough information coming up. So applying continuum should be after risk assessment, as at least to know where you stand, and reevaluate risk throughout, and reevaluate as you process to check evidence. You have to keep reevaluate risk. In complete doubt, fraud, as I mentioned, is identified or integrity is in question. Alert immediately forensics area for help. You don't do it yourself. You alert them. You may let them do the. If there is a separate forensic department, or you are also as an auditor or as an internal auditor, you are there to help. Then, I mean, you are there, your responsibility falls, you have to call forensic. Don't take in your hands without probably, many companies have a process when they identify fraud, how to deal with the fraud. They may have call a legal counsel, they may call a specialized forensic people or a organization with forensic capabilities to conduct content. Because in forensic, unless you have the capability to identify including to build the evidence so that in legal it stands, with the legal meaning in the court of law it stands, you may miss out many things. In fact, in case of technological, forensic, this thing from the IT system, we need probably an IT expert to find out who has, whose credential it is and all that. So now there are common types of bias. One of the things I mentioned is where so let's go. It's very difficult for you to read. So I'm starting with affinity bias. Affinity bias is where feeling affinity or chemistry with another person. He's from same background. He's from my same state. He has same education, and many other factors. We get along well. So don't have affinity bias. Affirmation bias. Now attribution regarding the cause of one's behavior, even though attribution do not always accurately reflect reality. This can cause people to find reasons for their behavior. So affirmation, so he's saying that one's behavior, even though attribution do not always accurately reflect reality. You you make a judgment or you blame somebody, but I know, or as convenient. So this is an affirmation. Availability. You say that okay, these are the only information available. Based on this, I make this judgment. So that's again, it's a bias. Availability. You ask for more information. You ask for more details. Then groupthink. Groupthink is where bringing people together to gain more perspective. I talked about it earlier because the more people you involve in a fraud, particularly, the better it is. In a fraud situation, particularly, better it is. Halo effect bias again. Some individuals, with certain level of knowledge, certain level of certain ability, certain position they take, whether societal or community or something, we tend to feel that they have. That's where person acquires his halo effect. So see that that halo effect one. I mean, the halo effect happens in many other situations. It's a fact of life. So outcome bias, judging a decision based on the outcome rather than how the decision was made. The bias is significant impact. So outcome bias is where outcome, what happened is what happened is the consequences what is done. People forget that what happened is certain thing. Okay, we didn't make big loss. Oh, we didn't have we didn't go huge material misstatement. So it is okay like that. So rush to solve bias. Needed to make quick decision, each consensus quickly when an individual is under time pressure. Again, rush to solve bias is time pressure. So we say that, okay, this bias is there, but it's acceptable like that. We want to move on to close the chapter. So this is where rush to system justification, supporting the status quo. That means, oh, we said that, okay, this is where we found out, and the system says same. So since system doesn't, system has also overlooked the new type of fraud because the team checks only fraud scheme that has occurred in the past. No, the system checks only on the fraud risk, on whatever you put in to trigger the anomalies, and the system brings that out. So these are the common bias. One should be very careful as you develop your professional skepticism. Why I'm talking about bias is that this can deter your professional skepticism. So what else can deter? Your overconfidence, that no overestimate of own abilities, that can suboptimal. So here I made, you should challenge your own statements, and allow others also to challenge your statement, and allow others also to challenge your assumption, and also agree that there are probably insufficient procedure you follow to bring some conclusion. So that overconfidence in us that we'll not do any wrong can be very, very detrimental. Again, that's a judgment tendencies, that can lead to bias. So second is confirmation. See, somebody overweight confirming information in favor of conclusion. That means I decided this, somebody agreed to my decision, then I'm happy to confirm that, so that he towed the line with you. Probably he has not contributed his own thinking. You should make sure that the people who you call for confirmation, even external evidence or internally, is not a person who cannot confirm with independence and integrity. Anchoring. That again, the anchoring is, where details from the past year is used resulting in lack of objectivity. Okay, past year it happened. So why here? Familiar, it is all familiar. The data is familiar, business is familiar, the methodology followed is familiar, profit and turnover and every figure which is in the financial system similar. So they say that okay, there is why that we get the anchoring. Right, that is again confirmation. But that lacks objectivity. Optimum bias, which we talked about earlier, assume a favorable outcome by underestimate risk and focus on potential positive result. If the focus itself is on a positive result, you will find all that evidence in a positive way. Okay, you should. That's why you have to take the neutral stand. You have to have unbiased, disciplined, uh, uh, questioning mind to avoid this optimum bias, because all these are impediments to appropriate professional skepticism. So survivors paying attention to success while glossing over failures. This survivorship, okay. Let's not, because the organization won't survive, my work might not survive, my own professional thing will not. So things like that could be. So all these are, as I said, impediment to your professional skepticism as as per as an auditor or as a professional. Beyond auditor, you can have different names. You can be even CEO, COO, or or a chairman of the company, or audit committee, or an independent director. So you have to ensure that these tendencies, all that bias, all are taken care of, and we move to that. So next session, I am going to the session 2, summing up what you have done, so what you talked about. Skepticism operates in a continuum. Continuum means not a fixed state. That means it can move. See, overtrust, that is complacency. If you start with overtrust, it's a complacency. That means, okay, no, in Hindi we say chalta hai. It will go on. It won't make any difference in my life. It won't make any change for the company. So we have that complacency attitude. Balanced skepticism, that's a good zone where you start balanced skepticism. And over suspicion is paralysis. It creates doubt about it, and it will create paralysis. It may not move further. It can create conflicts. So auditor's goal is to operate consistently in ideal zone, adjusting skepticism based on risk and evidence. Now we finished 2 sessions where we talked about skepticism, then we talked about the how, what are the impediments, and how do you figure out. So this is continuum is calibrating skepticism and understanding the bias, what goes with it. So let now go to the third session, how to enhance skepticism. This is where you have to sort of imbibe a lot, understand a lot, so that you can practice it in your real life situation. And it's so there will be four things which few things I will rush through so that we don't spend dwell deep into it because it may not be of I will give reference to the book so that you can pick up the book and read, and I'll mention it so that it make you think, because the real world, as I mentioned it earlier in the start, that you have to be you have to have professional skepticism more into a work in the current year 2026 as 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 an important factor of trust, and that is what will survive our profession. Okay, so a caution to follow. Everywhere there is a enhancing skepticism, also a caution. We start with cause and the way forward, and I said threats and solution and best practices. So let's start with enhancing criticism. Caution to follow. Be aware of tendency to assume. Even assumptions you make should be based on uh, certain discipline or certain strong conviction, or based on certain knowledge, based on certain say even opinions or interaction. So it is, don't assume without all that. Ask questions when in doubt. The only people who don't make or who think that if they don't if they ask question, people will think about their competence or their knowledge. In fact, it's the other way around. If you don't ask questions, you don't learn. You create a person yourself. Like, I mean, your competencies get in a doubtful scale very soon, sooner than later. So be ready to admit wrong and make changes. You can make mistake. Anybody can. If you do some job, you can make some mistakes, but make a calculated mistake. Don't allow large mistakes to enter into or wrong advice or wrong thing enter into a professional work. But admit wrong. If it happens, somebody pointed out, even if it by your junior or your subordinate or your superior, okay, admit wrong. It's and make changes. Important thing is that learn from the wrong. So long as if you learn from the wrong, you're not made any mistake. You become better. You don't make the same mistake. If you don't ask and if you don't learn from it, you continue to make mistake and you become worse. So the level of skepticism varies with situation. Goes without. Do not get comfortable. It's important. So these are some of the things which you should keep in mind before you think that you are ready to enhance skepticism. Don't jump to conclusion without evidence. It's okay. Look deeply beyond obvious. Avoid believing that confirms assumption. Look deeply beyond obvious. It's a statement which is I was asked to explain. And I told them I can explain because that's what we have been talking about all this while. If you go by obvious, we don't ask questions. We have tendency to assume the level. I mean, we become comfortable. We get to jump to conclusion without. So you have to look beyond obvious. Avoid believing that confirms your assumptions. Find evidence to confirm answers. So these are some of the things which is we should know and practice, understand and practice so that you can really enhance skepticism in your professional area. Now, really, this is promote a culture of how do you now take it forward within your department, or within your organization, within your practice, or even within your sphere of influence. So promote culture of healthy skepticism, meaning it's a mindset, as I mentioned earlier. So you have to promote it. You have to promote it so that there's a need as a role modeling here. There's a need for someone to at the tone at the top. So if you're in a senior management, you have to create the tone at the top so that people down the level at the last person gets into this important competency which will do good for the organization. Invest more time in understanding the business and its ecosystem. No, I say this many times. I also do. I had done a quality assurance in quality assurance in internal audit as quality assurance QIPs, where you find out it's an audit on auditors. Where sometimes many times when you as a part of QIP we ask sort of feedback or to send to the audit clients or to find out what is the feedback from them. So many of them keep telling us as an auditor, he doesn't know our business. Though the business they do is not, like rocket science or so complicated, constructing a huge spacecraft or anything like that. But they completely come to say that no, auditors don't understand business. So, I mean, it's okay. You should be willing to hear that. Many times this has come as something which people easily uh, easily attribute to auditors, attribute not in the good way, but they put it on us saying that, no, he doesn't know our business, or we have to do this, we have to deal in cash, or we have to deal in something else. Okay. So built internal expertise in addition to external expert. Yes. I mean, I like this saying to many people, even in India, when I come back after long sojourn abroad, I found that no, we outsource expertise to people. We are happy to work with, part-time experts who it's needed. I mean, you can't have your own expert in your company in every field because you may not have that sort of practice or that sort of requirement to and that sort of ability to pay them so much. It's all means cost. So, but what is important is what is that your own core competency? What is the competency of the organization that you are in? What is your own branding as an individual, as a professional? Where people consider you as an expert? So create your own expert, then you get more respect from an expert from external, and they treat you at par. They won't. They will try to also tell you why they say what they say. So why they say what they say is important input for your further learning. So take that, build that internal expertise, encourage critical thinking and overcome biases. Okay, that biases come in many times. Critical thinking, I don't know. I think you cannot. Critical thinking is nothing like inborn, and you are born with a inborn skill or a character or something. It can be developed. It needs. There is a way to practice, way to practice and become part of you. It will become, like something like your part or your own regular activities. You get into the critical thinking unconsciously. So, but it can be practiced and perfected in due course of time. It won't happen overnight. Okay, so critical thinking is incorporate skepticism into fraud-related training. Yes, this is another way to enhance criticism. When there is a fraud-related training, this professional skepticism plays a significant part, and try to incorporate skepticism into that. So this is how to enhance. Now let's go to, I told you some cases where individual auditor, I mean, I'll so what are the threats? Individual enhancing professional skepticism. What happened to individual auditors? They're trapped in bias. They're trapped in lack of expertise. We mentioned all that. They work for debt with the deadlines, and there's a pressure, and there's an expectation. There's an auditor character, personal, and cultural attribute. Even people don't call auditors for party, I heard, because they're boring people. we are all, many of us are boring people. So because we are more into numbers, we are not fun loving, we have more deadlines to do than parties to attend. Also, how did the character? I mean, I'm not saying from my own experience. I'm saying what people say to me, and including to me. So and many others. So we are our own personal and cultural attributes. We are more number crunchers. We are uh, more into doing things perfectionists and all that. That's a good attributes also. We consider as perfectionists. We are risk averse. So these are things. So not all that is bad. There are good, good which overrides bad. So performance and compensation metrics and incentives not appropriate. So these are the threats of an individual auditor. Now let's see mitigating factor, licensing and continuing education. If you are a CA, you have to get CPE hours. In many of these, the introduction Bobby mentioned about my qualification, I had to get so many CPE hours. So I spent a lot of money traveling to different conferences globally to get my CPE hours. And supervision, mentoring, review, and performance approach, very important thing. Many people don't go for mentoring. So we should understand our skills gap. We should understand our behavioral gap. We should understand probably the communication gap or anything. And we should work on it purposefully. Don't think that, oh no, when I do work for 5 years or 4 years, I'll get rid of it. No. You have to have a purposeful mentoring for your gaps. So that, otherwise you hit the glass ceiling quicker. You remain as an accountant, you remain as CFO. There are not many CEOs from finance sector background because we are not bridged the gap of a management as a management efficient management person. So do the in the performance appraisal, talk about it if needed. Then planning audit program and expectation setting. We can include the skepticism. So individual auditors, all these aspects can be made good by these things. You had to have CPRs, you had to go for mentoring on supervision, performance appraisal. Do it in your practical work situation when planning or audit program or expectation setting. Performance metrics, prepare your own performance metrics that reward people for quality work. I mean, that's a, when you give that, you have to see when I had uh, uh, something like for our audit department, a key performance review, a key performance areas or KPI, performance indicator, we kept KPI for the department. We kept KPI for individuals. Kept a KPI for a CAE, chief auditor. That's myself. So we have to do the performance metrics and create it. Now the new standards require us to teach others what is our performance criteria. What performance metrics? Teach the senior management, teach the audit committee, what are the performance criteria? Then they will evaluate you. If you want to be an independent director, so they will evaluate you based on what performance metrics you give it to them. So training on core competencies, again, many of these core competencies can be learned. It is not acquired by birth. Then enhance this. What happened to a team? What are the different conflict of interest, time resource management, misaligned influence? See, team dynamics is different. Team is a group of people. Then the dynamics changes completely compared to individuals. A third person coming between two of us will make a different dynamics for the team. So they will influence, they will create an influence, they will create a different tone, and they create different characteristics. They come with some familiarity and they influence our decision making. So how do you mitigate? Involvement and engagement of leadership, industry and client experience, internal quality performance review, HR and independence policies, ethics and compliance hotline. So there are different things which you can do to mitigate these threats in a team. Now let's go to accounting firms. Okay, what are the threats? Competition based on audit fees. Correct. Of course, in theory, it says that we should not undercut and when you take over from somebody else, and I think it's also in practice most of the time. I'm not blaming anyone. You blame someone, it's also pointing out to me computation based on audit fee, and you take over somebody else's, assignment with lower fees, and then you lower performance. So performance measures based incentives, if auditor gets based on certain incentives, what we find out in one of the Japanese company where I work, even internal audit had a performance measurement. I was head of audit in a large automobile company. It's an international company, and that they said they gave us also something like, say, I'm just putting a figure because $5 million as a cost saving from internal audit department. That was one of the performance measures. So it is a threat. When there is a performance, I will do the audit to make sure that this performance measure is achieved instead of looking at, instead of long-term beneficial audit findings. So what I'm saying is it could influence our thought. It will influence our actions. So performance measure, then dependency on large clients, it's again fact of life. Non-audit service, which is probably yes, more money comes from that non-audit service, and it will be interesting for everyone. Non-audit services, then focus not aligned with risk. Okay, and again, it goes without saying, audit committee oversight. So these are the threats for an accounting firm. So then let's see how tone at the top, prohibit non-audit services where it is, conflicting. I mean, in practical life, many of people have both audit firms, accounting firms, and consultancy firms. They may do it, but may not be the same partner, but they may have the influence. So prohibit, avoid, or licensing exams. We should ensure that licensing exams are passed by people. In fact, when I was a chief auditor, I used to encourage my audit staff to pass CIA or CISA or CFE, and the company used to pay them that the entire fee is the study material plus a good bonus for having qualified, because that adds huge value to the department, that adds huge value for the organization. So and they become accountable. They're professionally accountable, and they whatever they say or whatever report they make. So they probably today's illiterates are not people who cannot learn and who cannot read and write. Illiterates today are those who don't learn or unlearn, don't know to learn or even unlearn. So unlearning is very critical. Most of the licensing exam help you to unlearn your thinking or what you practice as the best practice into what is the real best practice, global best practice properly. Then understand standards, linkage, quality control policies and procedures. So these are the mitigating factors. Again, uh, probably if institute will share the presentation, or you can see the see this event, or when they post it online, you can understand a little more better. But best practice to enhance data, fostering culture of skepticism. We mentioned it. I'm just concluding. Promote ethical standard, encourage opening dialogue. This open dialogues, that means environment of questioning assumptions, led by example. I said role modeling, then continuous professional development, stay updated and enhance analytical skills, leverage technology and data analytics. It's a very important aspect. So these are all the best practices. Now the takeaway here is understand the business. I mentioned how it is important. Use skepticism in all facets of audit work. Remain curious. So this is the takeaway from these sessions, and I'll sum up this session, how to strengthen and sustain skepticism. At what we talked about is how to strengthen and sustain it at individual, team, and firm level. The enhancements focus, whatever I said, practical behavior and habits, not just concept. Reflection and action commitment for real behavioral change. And that change is entirely up to you. You are the owner for that change. So you have to make sure that you get into the change by taking appropriate action. Now, this auditor sixth sense. I said about sixth sense. What is that? What did I said in the sixth sense? It's a tool is an analytics. In the sixth sense, so sixth sense is defined tools and technique for skeptical actor, auditor, and okay. So we'll get into skepticism to fight fraud. Okay, because sixth sense is where fight fraud comes in. So the perception beyond five traditional senses. What are the five traditional senses? Sight, hearing, taste, touch, smell. Okay, these are the five senses. So there's the fifth. These are the fifth sense. So sixth sense is intuition, ESP with its extrasensory perception, psychic abilities such as telepathy, clairvoyance, or pre-recognition, precognition, precognitions. Precognitions is a mental state. What it denotes? Beyond rational analysis, awareness that cannot be explained by logic. What it denotes? That means what sixth sense denotes? It means beyond rational analysis, awareness that cannot be explained by logic. Okay. So heightened sensitivity, attuned to subtle cues, emotional or spiritual. Heightened sensitivity. Again, I'm talking about sixth sense. Mystical dimension. Spirituality denotes connection to unseen realities. This is mystic. So sixth sense is a perception beyond the five traditional sense. It is a fact of life, the sixth sense. But there's a more, there's a, as we go towards the end, I have something to say that sixth sense is, it is something like professionals. It includes, deep experience, pattern recognition. It is not magic. It is a professional skepticism, deep experience, pattern recognition, and human-centric understanding. And sixth sense is perception beyond five senses. And the abilities like telepathy, intuition, ESV is unusually prescriptive human intentions and is supernatural to some extent. And sixth senses occur through, when you have practiced all these, the sixth sense come up. And we'll go to that in short while. So tools and technique for a skeptical audit. One is analytical procedure. You know what is analytical. It's a planning tool, and we can do substantive tests. Okay, interview techniques. Interview techniques are, skillful questioning, uncover inconsistency, and having open-ended questions, ask people to speak. In fact, many times, the interview speaks more than the person who is interviewed. So it is in your interview, you should have open-ended questions. You should make others speak more better. Computer assist audit technique. It's advantage with catch, which is an old term now. It's more of a data analytic. Is that it checks the trends and anomalies from a large data. Fraud triangle analysis. Fraud triangle are opportunity, the the rationalization and greed. These are the fraud triangle. Find out what is happening. Then risk assessment models, use the right risk assessment model, whether it identify high risk. Then sampling. Sampling is the method followed when a large, as a test representative data, as a test to representative group of data. And seven is observation, is seeing is believing. Probably physically seeing is wanted. Many times when you do a virtual audit, you don't see many things. Then documentation, review for authenticity and completeness. Then control testing for substantiation, professional judgment. So tools are auditors' armor against lies, subtleties of misrepresentation, and of a robust audit framework. Its auditor's armor means auditor's equipment or subtleties of misrepresentation. Toolkit provides techniques with questioning mindset, alert condition, and misstatement due to error or fraud. The mindset is not about distrust, but about the vigilant evaluation of auditor. So the tools and techniques of skeptical audit came up. Then impact of technology. Today, in auditing skepticism, data analytics, sit through, large data sets. Number one is data analytics, automation of routine tasks, so that when you automate routine tasks, when you get free of time for vigilant work or more quality work, more high-level work, and continuing auditing and monitoring, continuous auditing. Sorry, continuous auditing is today again with technology, with including AI, which can help us to get triggers. Continuous auditing, helps the cyclical auditing, no more, you know, it's no more in existence. We have continuous auditing and monitoring. It's constant state of skepticism. It allows constant state of skepticism. Blockchain and immutable records, which helps, again, tamper-proof ledger and more trustworthy record, tamper-proof. Artificial ledger, again, one of the important things in artificial intelligence is predictability factors, using the data and experience the predictability factors. So, one of the things is over-reliance on technology, should not create complacency, but trusting, computer over the tools. So another thing is complete evidence provides, you know, data analytics, AI to identify patterns and anomalies that may not be seen easily. So the two things is one, using computers or using technology, we helps to get us patterns and anomalies that may not be easily seen from the large data sets. So these are the second thing is it's something which we should follow is don't have complacency with anything which is technology is correct and stuff like that. So big data analytics, I won't dwell deep into it. There is a descriptive analysis, that is what happened, is descriptive. Diagnostic is why happened, and predictive is what is likely to happen. And the prescriptive is learn what to do from all this. So the big data, the biggest thing is, it's processing, analyzing large complex data set, extract insight, trends, patterns, correlations for informed decisions. So the analytics can be from the various sources such as Internet of Things sensors, social media, financial data, transaction, smart devices, can get insight through advanced and even now many of the, and as I read from the newspaper, many of the US visas are issued based on the analytics of the person's social media, or and it get the many of the I believe the interviews for visas are delayed because of that for months together. So I mean, the real world, it is useful. So as an auditor, we have to use data science is key weapon in the fight against fraud by training algorithm to recognize what is and what is not normal behavior within system. What is and what is not can be understood for fraud prevention and risk management. Okay, it's a fraud detection methodology. Identify relationship pattern. So I don't want to delve into it. It's also fraud detection, analytics for fraud detection, like how you can use big data analytics, how you can use machine learning, how you can use artificial, how advantage, key characteristics and advantage, cloud computing, anomaly detection, predictive analytics. So I'm not going into all these. It's a screen meant to make you know that these screen like this, data like this exist, and the concept, it will give the concept and technology, it will give the key characteristics, it will tell you what are the advantages. So if you are in forensics, or which is part of even your competency for skeptical thinking, go to understand this. So again, if you have a data, real-time fraud monitoring, pattern recognition, anomaly detection, predictive modeling, and risk management. So these are the in the real time. So skepticism to fight fraud. This goes in this. It's the last on this segment, and I have 10 minutes for the next segment, and I leave you for question answers for the next 10 minutes. So skepticism fight, identify KPIs for company-specific fraud risk. KPIs, key performance indicator. Create for company-specific fraud risk. It's starting off skepticism for fraud risk. Focus on drivers of business performance and employee behavior. Drivers of business performance is, again, why we are saying is what drives the business. These are the critical areas where we should look at, because there could be some vested interest to change the data. Employee behavior could also change the data based on his compensation, his the treatment he get, and his compare with the industry people, etc. Understand the business and its evolving environment. So leverage advanced technology and continuing. So here, again, leverage advanced technology. Here, there's one important thing. Without proper application of skepticism, the effectiveness of audit procedure is diminished. The sufficiency and appropriateness of audit evidence obtained is negatively impacted. So, application of skepticism. There is one very nice statement. It says, trust but verify. It's part of the standard where they say that trust but verify. Trust is a professional hazard. Hazard means danger. Trust is a professional hazard. You can trust but verify. And the extreme cases, they said, God we trust, rest we audit. So it's let's go to summing up of this session 4, which is that auditor sixth sense built through repetition and reflection. Repetition and reflection. Built through skepticism, sixth sense is built through repetition and reflection. So repeating what you're supposed to do, analysis, patterns, questions, evidences, judgment. Over time, this process become instinctive, your sixth sense. This is the takeaway here. Over time, once you are in this, you build the reputation and reflection. Reflection is knowing about yourself. Reputation is doing the right things repeatedly as a habit, and you follow through a process of analytics or analysis, understand the pattern, ask the right questions, get the right evidence, and make a right judgment. If you follow this process over time, it becomes instinctive. That means it comes automatically, it triggers in you, it becomes inbuilt in you, and that develops as your sixth sense. That is sixth sense of your auditor. That is where analysis, it starts with analysis and it processes through a different part of the analysis and gets into your sixth sense. Analytic skill that powers skepticism. Okay, that is why it is a sixth sense of auditor. Analytical skills that power skepticism. Common red flags auditors should notice that we have been telling about various things. So now the last part of it, which is very interesting, at the same time, which need to be told. I have maybe 5 minutes and I will see whether I could continue. Here we start boundaries, and I'll skip that financial integrity. Then what training and education and evolving standards. I'll just go through understanding the frame. Navigating ethical boundaries is understanding ethical boundary, understanding the framework. What is the framework? It's ethical framework. Ethical framework consists of integrity, objectivity, professional skepticism, competency, confidentiality, behavior. These are the part of the ethical framework. So understand the framework. If you have to be within ethical boundaries, understand what ethical boundaries means. Okay. Second, evaluating evidence. Question the evidence, not character. Again, a significant statement. Question the evidence, not character of the person. Okay. It may reflect character if he's continuously doing something wrong, but start with evidence, not character of the individual. Third, questioning anomalies. Thoroughly investigate. If you identify an anomaly, don't pass it away. What it could be the impact? Something could be hidden. Question that anomalies. Maintain independence. Free from control of or compromise, free from maintain independence, free from somebody's personal conflict of interest, free from conflict of interest, and free from maintain independence means free from conflict and free to have that objectivity, and don't compromise on creating right judgment. So this is maintaining independence means or expects to. Communicating finding, open with management, can be candid. Once my boss used to, or my chairman of a company, told me, oh, it is when you come as a head of audit and we have a meeting every we used to have meeting every Tuesday morning between 7 to 8 a.m. So you'd say, oh, Rajesh, when you come, you always have problems to state. And there are different issues that comes up. And I told him, if I had to tell you what you like to hear, you don't need me. I can tell you what you like to hear, but you are employed me is to tell you what you can improve, what you can work on, what is your practical approach should be, and what you need to hear from an independent person like me. So, other than the business manager. So, it is communicating findings should be need that candidness. You could even say, that could even risk your job. If you are not candid, some candidness could even risk your job. Continuous learning. You have no, it's part of the landscape. Landscape is ever changing, and you have to be ever ready. For that thing, particularly in the regulatory, geopolitical situation, in the business modeling, the people, as you know, there is soft skills. There is a soft issues more than hard issues. Where people are come from. If you're working in international, I worked in a company where there are 75 nationalities. So each one bring their own, from culture or background. So I had to deal with them. Using technology, again, you have to know what is data analytics, how we do use AI, how you use any other technological, like we said, whether we can have uh, even I found, even so simple thing like in fraud, we have there are tools, technical tools, which can be with AI-based technical tools, which even helps in what do you call it? People who want to report something, I don't want to identify themselves. So there are tools and cultural sensitivity, impact on business practice. Cultural sensitivity. If you have to be really the next level of practice, you have to be cultural because you work with people from different cultures. So next one is navigating ethical boundaries, understanding the framework, the ethical framework of integrity, objectivity, competency we mentioned, evaluating area. These are the from that what I mentioned earlier. Questioning anomalies, maintaining independence. So it's only I detailed what it was, communicating findings, continuously using technology, culture, sentiment. Now, the next ethical boundaries, what skepticism is not. It's a very important aspect to be told. Okay, we are talking about ethical boundaries so far. So, what skepticism remains ethical? Skepticism must avoid presuming dishonesty without evidence. It's not allowed. It's not allowed. Don't even talk about I doubt him until you have some evidence. So conducting unnecessary or intrusive procedures, it can also, put people off. They would have worked for 20 years or 10 years in an organization without sufficient knowledge or understanding or evidence. We should not do anything which will make that human being uh, sensitive to, his value or prestige or his personal egos or personal, life, affecting his personal life. Disrespectful interrogation of management or staff. Often, when you are in a chair, we try to put that up. Oh, I have the power. I'll interrogate him. I'll treat him with less. No, no, we don't need to do all that. We have to do it in a very decent way, allowing personal belief to override evidence. That's also, this person comes on this place or this, so we had certain things. No, do personal belief, you should keep it at home. That is not for in the at workplace. So ethical skepticism questions evidence, not character. So now let's give the role of doubt. And this is what I said. I will just give a skip because it's about doubt. Now, professional skepticism in action. So, see, for example, I'm just giving example where you can use professional skepticism. Case of overstated inventory, inflating inventory could be for more profit. If inventory may not be existing, you should go and should have gone and verified inventory. Should have looked at the value is based on your policy, accounting policy. May not be following accounting policy. uncovering inflated revenue. Many times you find the billings happen on month end or year end or quarter end. Is it real or is there any bill? Is it any returns next year? Is it confirmation of balance obtained from the data? So these are where skepticism should trigger. Detecting conflict of interest. Many times vendors related, conflict of interest is very common. One should find out. In fact, one case we found out by finding from the same address or the same telephone number, questioning unusual transaction, tax evading, it could be for tax evading. So these are things which we should not, training and education. I'll quickly touch on training for, because all this, finally, how you equip yourself is important to how professional skepticism you follow. So one is start with uh, continue professional education. We all do it. I think some of you are logged in only for this. So it is important. The critical, at least it will, and in fact, the very fact that our institute is doing so much, I'm surprised. I really doubt any other institute anywhere in the world are doing so much of CPE for the members. There is one workshop or one seminar or one thing. Even many of them are even free, given by various committees of the institute. It is absolutely incredible. And we as a member should be proud of it, that our institute is developing members consciously to become a to give them better competence to beat the world, level, or to have a standing in the high standing at the world level. There's always a statement. You have to find a seat at the table where major decisions are made, but you won't find nobody offer you that table or seat. You have to pull your chair to be there. That means you have to have that competency to reach there. So critical thinking, I mentioned, it's a logical fallacy. Information looked at from the logical fallacy, objectively well-reasoned judgments. So ethical seminars, again, about dilemmas, what are the ethical dilemmas a person can face, and evidence evaluation training, again, quality and reliability of evidence. Many of the junior auditors, particularly the article clerk or some article assistants and all that, they may need, or your paid assistant, they may need this audit evaluation training. If you're professional, they finish CA or other equal qualification, they come with that training. Interdisciplinary learning, yeah, we should insight to human behavior, that interdisciplinary is insight to human behavior, bias, distancing. These are the learning from that. Biases can be learned, how people get into bias, and in the simulation exercise is mimicking the world, the challenges. You can mimic. Simulation is a very good way of learning firsthand to be prepared to the next situation. So developing professional skepticism mind is an imperative. It is an imperative. Mindset serve as an auditor's campus, guiding through the complexities of financial statements and beyond. It is a skill that is honed over time. The journey to create such mindset includes understanding essence, pursuit of evidence and truth, and cultivation of skepticism, critical ethic, and validation. So evolving standard, I'll just quickly into equivalence, integration of technology, enhanced training. We talked about globalization of standards, understand. Case example as I gave, there's just 4, but there can be many. So the session 5 summing up, that's my last, navigating ethical boundaries with professional skepticism, meaning staying principled while thinking critically. Staying principled while thinking critically. We respect people, but we also respect the truth, the rules, and our own integrity. So this is an important message. Navigating ethical boundaries with professional skepticism means staying principled while thinking critically. We respect people. We also respect the truth, the rules, and our own integrity. So my last slide, skepticism. This slide is for future. People looking at the future. Skepticism, the mark and even the pose of an educated mind. It didn't say stop with it didn't stop with accountant or auditor. Any educated mind, skepticism is the mark and even the pose of an educated mind. It's from John Dewey. So it's a mark of an erudite auditor. It is the mark of an erudite auditor. So that's my last thing for you. And I mean, I have to give credit, my credentials here. And I have some of the people who, one of some of the beautiful articles, some of the beautiful books, and some of the statements or which you can look at it. And I'll leave you for question and answers the last 5-10 minutes. I have time depending on how the institute have more time or not. I'll stop sharing this and we'll go for question and answers.
Sir, it was a wonderful session,
Thank you.
and you gave so much of clarity on the bit what we say important topic for each and every auditor. The turning analytical skills into auditor's sixth sense. Something on the more on practice module. You explained all the things on different wide on technology part, on the skills part. This all depends, so many correlations are there when an auditor is doing his job critically. So we have some questions for you, sir, on this
Yeah,
session.
please. Yeah.
How can an audit firms and training programs cultivate a culture that strengthens professional skepticism among audit professionals?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it starts with the tone at the top. It starts from the principal or the managing partner or the partners. They should they should have the mindset because it's skepticism is all about human skill. They should have the mindset. Secondly, they should go through, as I mentioned in the last few slides, they should have that. They should go through the training process. They should the training because all these can be developed, whether it is skepticism or any of these skills can be developed. So it matters, but it should be purposeful training. They have to go for depending understanding the gap in the
Yes.
behavior or in a skill set or knowledge, then work on it. That's how they can develop. And it has to be a conscious effort. One should be bold, one should be courageous because how you think your quality of work is critical. That's why Center for Audit Quality, CAQ, it's an important organization. They brought out all these. They are one of the proponents of professional skepticism because they found that that is the critical aspect of a auditing or accounting firm or accounting in the professionals.
True, sir. One more question we have. How does professional skepticism contribute to the detection of fraud as opposed to the mere errors in the financial statements?
Yeah, correct. Because one is that inquisitive mind. One inquisitive mind is very critical for fraud related identification. In fact, that inquisitive mind can come from you don't compromise on getting the right evidence, and also many times there are people who are informers. They will not, for fear of the job, they will not come and tell you this is happening, but they will give you some sort of say feedback in some manner to indicate that there's something is not right in some particular area or some particular transaction or particular way the business is done. So if that person's information, we cannot just push it off. Many people think, okay, push it off. I know he may be a disgruntled employee. He may have personal prejudice or some problem with some fellow employees or some peers in the organization. So, but we should go into detail. First, do a basic credential check, and then, if it warrants further further verification and go deeper into it, we need to follow a process. We need to follow a process and get to get to reach what is. In fact, some of the cases where I have investigated with my staff, the we couldn't, the evidences came from totally unknown sources, totally unknown sources. It came from, something like a telephone number from for five clients have the same telephone. It is impossible that five clients have the same telephone because you are using the another client's credit for delivering product to some other client. So these sort of, it is, it depends on, again, creative thinking, your knowledge built on the building the professional skepticism, learn to know the bias in the people, and learn to differentiate. I mean, learn to use that or data analytic, which is an important tool because we can't do that many times with our normal verification or what you call a test check and all that sampling. We have to do from the data set to get some triggers, get an analytical information to identify. So that will again will not solve the problem. We have to bring the right evidence, and when many times when you have to present a case or even to even to confront an employee who is in question, we need to be backed up by enough evidences. So these are the way to go about it, and we should involve legal, we should involve probably the top management where they can be, where they may be need to be consulted and all that. So it is a process, and there is no right way of doing it. It depends on the situation. It depends on the company. It depends on the process. Because in some cases, the government departments has a different process from the private company. International companies have different process from in, probably an Indian national company. So we have to take into account all these. We have to take into account the personal equation we develop also.
Correct. Very true. So the last question that is coming up. Uh, how does the professional how can an over reliance on the management representations impair professional skepticism even in long standing client relationships?
Yeah, I mean these are some of the facts which I covered as as something which we should take care in the very first or second slide. Wow, I mentioned that you know many times we think that okay, this is as per last year. We have been doing this for many years. We know this company. Nothing has changed in this company. These are all sort of impediments. I use the word also. These are all impediments to right professional skepticism. So unless we, and also, these are I talked about, I mentioned the skepticism continuum. In this continuum, it starts, you said it starts with neutral. But in this case, they are starting with trust, complete trust. When you have complete trust, there is no skepticism, zero skepticism. But the very fact of the skepticism, it will start from, you know, a way where there is, you start looking at and then go for it's a varying degrees of doubt. That is the skepticism continuum. So in
True.
the continuum, don't start from, if you start from trust, you are not skeptic at all. So it very clear, where it gives it a lot of clarity saying that how to use that range between different levels of doubt to complete doubt where there is a fraud is unearthed. So don't ever fraud or misstatement, or I just said fraud for a reason, but it can be a misstatement, it can be uh, anything else. So we have to be careful about not assuming that we have to do our due diligence, irrespective
Right.
of what is the position of other party.
True. So, sir, what I understood from whatever the synopsis I could gather out, like turning analytical skills into a sixth sense for an auditor happens when auditors combine the data analysis, industry understanding, past experience, to anticipate the risk and recognize the red flags early. I think it enables the auditors to design appropriate audit procedures, challenge assumptions, and form well reasoned conclusions. So ultimately, the strong professional skepticism enhances the audit quality, safeguards public trust, and reinforces an auditor's role, an
Mhm.
independent and objective assurance provider, because we have a very critical role in the industry, And whatever we have learned from your whole this webcast, it is something that the more you practice, you become more seasoned with it, right? And
Correct.
the more you learn out of it, and you get the sixth sense early. So
Correct.
it is like developing a technology, your analysis skills, and these all things a continuous sharpening up of the edge. You cannot leave it today that now you have a degree holder and now you can do anything. Cannot be done. Every day you are learning something new with the clients,
Correct.
right?
Reflection is our own, and experience is another thing. You have to
Yes.
self-reflect and also gather that experience and knowledge. Then you become, better as a skeptic. And as you practice all that, what I said in terms of avoiding bias, in terms of enhancing your skepticism skill, data analytics, and all that technology support. If you put all that together, your sixth sense develop. It becomes
Yes.
it becomes your own unknowingly. It becomes instinct, your own instinct. The
Right,
instinct
sir.
means you act without thought, act without much thinking or going back. Your instinct means your immediate reflection of your action. Immediate action is based on this instinct that you develop. So that instinct is called professional skepticism.
Professional skepticism, right? Very true, sir. And we are now not having any more questions, and also our time is up. So we would like to wind off this session. It was really a great honor, sir, to have you here on the webcast on professional skepticism, turning analytical skills into auditor's sixth sense, organized by Professional Skills Enrichment Committee, ICAI. On behalf of the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee, ICAI, I would like to have a big round of applause for our today's resource person, CA Sundareshan Rajeshwar sir, for his enlightening session. Sir, you spoke so many things, and this shows that how much experience you have on this subject. Your clarity is so good on the subject. You explained the minute details in such a plain manner that a person who has never undergone such type of training, who are the learners on the field we have in the webcast, the students joining the webcast, they can also understand what the gravity the auditor will have once he is into that particular subject, he is into that audit. So sir, you made the thing so clear. And I would like to again see you on the session, sir, once more, because you made this session so live. Everybody enjoyed your way of explaining the things in a better manner, and you made this webcast a really a memorable one. So thank you for your such a valuable support to the Professional Enrichment Skills Committee, ICAI. I would like to thank Dr. Shambit Kumar Mishra ji, his technical team, for providing us such a flawless technology for bringing this webcast. It's a great honor to host you all. Signing off as CA Bhavi Thakkar. Wish you all a very great day ahead. Thank you, everyone, for joining the webcast.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
sir.
everyone. Thank you, my fellow chartered accountants and
Thank you.
members.